Hey there, I'm Pete Townsend, and this is Money Never Sleeps. We look inside the minds of entrepreneurs and at the crossover of startups, enterprise, finance, technology, and life as we know it. Eoin, Fitzgerald and I are back with another Money Talk segment this week, with highlights of the first AMA, or Ask Me Anything session, held this week on the Launchpool Web3 Techstars Accelerator that I'm leading in Dublin. We also look at Stripe's re-entry into crypto and what they'd miss if they stayed on the sidelines. Also some stories from the Token 2049 conference last week in London, and some unique insights on embedded finance through the lens of NerdWallet's IPO filing and Productfy's $16 million Series A. All right here on Money Never Sleeps. Eoin, pal, how you doing tonight?
Pete, how are you? I'm having a good time.
Yeah, good. I've got a little story for you to get things started.
Tell me.
So I'm going sea swimming this morning in the 40-foot in Dunleary, or on the way there and walking up through Sandy Cove, right up to where you get into the 40-foot. And yes, it is the 13th of October. And yes, the water was 14 degrees Celsius. I see a guy that looks familiar. And I'm looking at him. And my wife is walking next to me. And I'm like, I know that guy. And then he turns around, he looks at me, I look at him, I say, hey. And he kind of just nods. And then he sees my wife, who he knows, and he says, hey, Lisa. And she turns around and says, oh, hi, how you doing? I can't say who this is because it was all a big secret. Anyway, my wife and I were just going swimming for 20 minutes. The sea swimming is invigorating. Absolutely love it. But this guy that we know, who is the brother of one of my wife's friends that she swims with on Sunday mornings, he was getting in the water in Bray, which for those who don't know the east coast of Ireland is 11 kilometers from where we were standing at that point in Dunleary. And he chose today to swim with his friend who was picking him up in Dunleary and driving with him to Bray, and they were both getting in the water in Bray and swimming back to Dunleary, which is 11 kilometers on the 13th of October in 14-degree water.
Jesus.
Yeah. Now, Celsius is different than Fahrenheit for our American listeners, but I was like, I'm just going in, swimming maybe 250 meters for 20 minutes. He's going in the water for 4 hours. I hope he made it, and hope we will find out. But we kind of said, listen, we're not even going to tell our friend that we saw her brother there because their whole family would just go bug-eyed, like, what the heck is this guy doing? But yeah, these are the little kinds of things that happen when you live 20-minute drive from one of the top swimming holes in all of Ireland. And take that for what it is. But that was a fun day.
You've been having a busy day.
I had a busy day. We did the first AMA, which is an Ask Me Anything or Ask Us Anything from a Techstars perspective for the Launchpool Web3 Techstars Accelerator. We did that from 4 to 5 o'clock this afternoon, pitched Techstars for the first half hour, and then did Q&A for the second half hour. And it was also my first time running through the Techstars pitch, obviously, but also describing the Alphabet and Launchpool partnership. So Launchpool are the digital asset investment platform. Alphabet are the venture fund, the crypto venture fund. Launchpool and Alphabet are part of the same group. And that was good. We had Laura Walsh on, who was on episode 158 with us last week. She was on way over in her neck of the woods in Thailand, close to midnight for that. So shout out to Laura for joining for that. But a few things came up. I just wanted to give a quick recap. So this is a very unique combo with this accelerator program that we're launching in Dublin with Techstars, Launchpool, Alphabet, and then what I bring to the table, which is really about bridging the old school to the new school. There's so much out there in terms of traditional financial services that needs to be digitalized. And crypto and DeFi are racing ahead. And can the traditional space keep up with that? We'll talk more about that a little bit later. So that was the first piece. The second piece of that was about getting excited about the new school of Web3 just schooling everyone. Okay, and seeing, like I said, crypto and DeFi racing ahead. So we talked about that a bit. People also asked, what are we looking for in terms of the businesses themselves? And the way the Techstars look at it is priority 1 is team. Priority 2 is team. Priority 3 is team. Okay, priority 4 is market. Priority 5 is growth. And then idea is 6, right? Which means if you got a great team, the A team with a B product, that's better than a B team with an A product. So it's very obviously founder focused. Getting that right match between rockstar founders that are also humble enough to be mentored, but also that have killer blockchain projects at a very early stage is quite unique to be able to gather all this together.
And do you think, is it a smaller pool of founders than a traditional Techstars type?
Of course.
Yeah.
It is.
When you talk about killer blockchain projects, that to me sounds like that's going to be what will make it a bit smaller in terms of the pool.
Yeah. Now, blockchain, in its niche is broad. It's an oxymoron. So we've talked about on the last episode, the episode before that, the building blocks of Web3 being crypto, NFTs, DeFi, blockchain protocols themselves, and other types of tokens and tokenization. So that space is moving so quickly and so fast that 6 weeks can go by and there could be an incredible business come to market with a token launch and you'll miss it, right? You'll miss that. Now, you'll see it 3 days after launch and it's already too late. So the key is to really leverage the network, leverage all the contacts out there that are deep in this space to find the best companies and encourage them to apply and get them into the loop, right?
Yep.
Tokenization is definitely central to the whole value proposition, like I just said. Now, if you take an Audius or even Launchpool itself, right? Audius there's an audio token that is paid to the top ranked artist on the Audius platform, which is kind of like a decentralized Spotify. Okay, so that is very central to the whole platform. Launchpool themselves, in order to access the token launches on their platform, you need to buy the Launchpool token and stake that. And once you stake it, you get access to the deals. And then after you buy into the token sale, you get your Launchpool that you stake back, right? So that is central to the whole proposition. Someone just says, hey, I'm going to throw a loyalty token on top of my platform here just because I want it to be in the blockchain space. That won't fly, right? It needs to be central to the whole proposition, which is a key thing. NFTs come into the space because an NFT platform is naturally involved in issuing, minting non-fungible tokens, right? So that is, that is part of it.
A lot of big NFT news this week. The little I know, but I saw Visa had an announcement today. Obviously, Coinbase issued a preliminary or announcement around competing with the likes of OpenSea.
Yep, Coinbase are bringing their NFT market to market, which is great to see. And we saw a couple of weeks ago just the big news with SoRare getting there. I think it was a 600 million raise that they did, which is the big NFT platform here, and also Dapper Labs, which did NBA Top Shots, also did a big one. So yeah, very hot space. So it's that where it's central to the platform and it's a key part of it, rather than, hey, blockchain is hot, let's add that in somehow. Yeah. So we answered that question.
Okay.
Someone asked if solopreneurs were okay, and we said yes, obviously. But what we've seen succeed the most are those teams with 2 to 3 people.
Yeah. I was going to ask there because I know, and we would know, obviously we've had even guests on the show who've been through the Techstars program under different sectors, and I know from the feedback from them about how intense it is. It's incredibly valuable, but it's intense, and being able to share that with another founder or a co-founder, I'd say, is extremely valuable. And it's a lot of pressure for a solopreneur to take on, going through Mentor Madness and all the different parts to it.
Yep, absolutely. And it's, we talked about as well, that component of it is the cross-founder relationships that are built. And so, yes, if you are a solopreneur, you can build relationships with other founders that are part of the program. That's a part of the big draw. And we got a whole bunch of plans on how to encourage these relationships even more when we get all these founding teams to Dublin, which would be great. My daughter's offered to make cookies for them.
And there's whiskey involved somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll see. Shout out to Ernest Cantle and see if he wants to get involved with this side of things. Someone asked if we're hiring, and the question was answered by me. Yes, we are. We are absolutely hiring. So the program manager is the top role that I need to fill right now with this program. And there is a job description that's gone out on that. So we would encourage applications. Also bringing on board 2 associates. Cool. Someone asked if pre-revenue was okay. Give a big thumbs up. Yep. But they said, how do you have indicators of traction if you're pre-revenue? And I said, well, we need a top team. We'll go back to that first, right? Team. But also some indicators and or metrics on the pre-go live community you're building. So what usually come before token launches are building up a community on something like a Telegram. And I've seen those that get out there with about 2,000 users to begin with as part of their community on Telegram, right? So that's kind of one of the, the basic entry level benchmarks. It's not just how many people do you have as part of your Telegram group. It's can you demonstrate that these people are engaged, that you do actually have this community. What B2B partnerships have you built as well? Right, Archax were very, very good at that. Over their first couple of years of raising funds before they hit their big target, they were announcing a new partnership every second week, right? So that was a good leading indicator, pre-revenue, of a business that was primed to succeed. Finally, great turnout, lots of great questions like I've been going through. I did get to tell my dynamic NFT story again about the Boston Red Sox and, the pictures changing depending on whether they won or lost. So that was a lot of fun.
You should be tweeting at or sending Instagram videos to his Tom Brady and his autograph.io, because I see he added Gronk and Gronk's cards this week. There's a lot of opportunity there for dynamic, what do you call them?
The NFTs.
NFTs on their platform, yeah.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, Gronk had nothing to do last week because he sat out the game because he was hurt. So he had, messing around with his NFTs.
Like a Gronk spike card there somewhere.
Oh, of course. There's got to be.
Yeah.
I miss Gronk. I miss Brady. But, the Pats are doing okay with Mac Jones. Red Sox are doing phenomenally well. They've gone up to the semifinals now. So, speaking of crypto, Stripe have re-entered the crypto market. So,
interesting one.
Charlie Taylor had the best analysis on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Charlie Taylor at the Irish Times. Shout out to Charlie. He's a great guy. And that just came out today. And I love Charlie Taylor's headline, Stripe goes back to the crypto future. So, there was a number of other articles out there as well that covered this. TechCrunch had one. The Stripe blog was referred to their announcement back in 2018 that they were ending Bitcoin support. So this was the whole idea of Charlie's headline of Stripe going back to the crypto future. So what Stripe are doing is that they say they're building the future of payments for Web3. Web3, as we've been talking about a little bit the last few weeks, are, to quote Charlie, he put it very simply and straightforward in his article today, decentralized apps built on blockchains. Okay, explain that a little bit further. Decentralized apps, or dApps, are built on decentralized peer-to-peer networks like Ethereum and other blockchain protocols. That's from like DeFi Pulse or something like that. And I added my own color here, is that instead of being run by a centralized owner or company, these networks are built, operated, and maintained by their users. All right. So there's usually a governing body that organize the will of the users of the network, and they vote on new product features and platform governance and things like that. The biggest thing here with these platforms, these decentralized apps, is that developers are incentivized to build on the networks and compete with each other so that you're always raising the bar in terms of the user experience. So when you have one of these big, massively multiplayer online games and it's decentralized and you have this marketplace context forming the basis and foundation of the platform, developers can just build on top of it, right? And can get paid in the native tokens of the platform that can also be earned by users, a game like Axie Infinity. So that whole future, the future that we talked about with Ready Player One, quite a number of those pieces are live already today. So Stripe are saying, in a roundabout way, coming to this conclusion, Owen, that they want to build the future of payments in Web3. I see stablecoins really being central to the core of this and how much those have grown in terms of adoption over the last year. So that, I thought that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the cynical side of me would say, there's so much, not only money, but focus and opportunity here that, you see it even, like I said, Visa announced something about an NFT platform today, I think it was. Like the payment companies, not even that they've no choice, but they're seeing what the potential is and the size of the markets with some of these. Even you mentioned Axie Infinity, like they're at an incredible number, I think, revenue number at the moment, multiple billions or something. Coming out of nowhere almost, some of these. So, it's a case of Stripe being in a very good position to grow with Web 3.0.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting looking back at some of the history here is that Stripe had enabled payments in crypto from 2014 to 2018, but they stopped because they thought crypto would become more of an asset that you traded rather than something that you use to make payments with. And that's between 2014 and 2018, absolutely. What's happened since 2018 is all the innovation has gone into hyperdrive. And like I said, stablecoins have really come on. And stablecoins, for those who don't know, are cryptocurrencies that are pegged one for one to fiat currencies or sovereign currencies or real world currencies. And those are being used quite considerably in crypto today. So there's this logical conclusion that you can draw that says if stablecoins like USDC have become so popular within crypto and are used so much by the 100 million plus users worldwide that are using crypto now, that we do see companies like Visa and MasterCard both enabling integration with stablecoins that are held in crypto wallets and payment in stablecoins. Of course, Stripe are going to follow on and do this as well, right? Because Stripe were created to say, we're going to make this whole payment experience easier for businesses.
And do you think our are they slowly coming to the realization? Is that it? I'm surprised there hasn't been like obviously Stripe were, allowing Bitcoin early on, because I think it was John Collison today was tweeting about, he retweeted the announcement and he was talking about how Stripe kind of grew up around the same time as Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose it feels like everyone now, all companies are trying to play catch up to a degree and want to be the main payment provider in one of these metaverse, whatever verses it is.
Yeah, well, if you just imagined the metaverse today, or if you just imagined a massively multiplayer online game like a Fortnite, a Roblox, what is it? With Legends of Warcraft, Wizards of Warcraft, World of Warcraft, and opening those games up so that Robux, what is it?
V-Bucks in Fortnite.
V-Bucks, right? And whatever you get in World of Warcraft, that you can take those credits, those points, whatever that you earn, and convert those into cryptocurrencies, whether that be, a native token that you can then exchange for USDC, you can exchange for Bitcoin, whatever, and you could take that offline and go do something with it. You can cash out.
The ability to cash out, that's huge. Like we've talked about before about Fortnite and the 32 million daily players and the amount, because I know from having bought my son loads of V-Bucks over the last couple of weeks while he was recovering from surgery, the amount of money that's sloshing around in the game or currency that's sloshing around in that game on any given days must be huge.
Crazy. And Axie Infinity, the points that you earn in the game, you could take that offline. That's why it's called play to earn.
Yeah.
Right? Kids in Philippines, like we talked about, are earning 3 times as much playing Axie Infinity all day as they could as if they had a minimum wage job. So imagine trend continuing, which people fully expect that it will. Axie Infinity is just the first, and there's more. There's others as well. Plenty more to come, and that being integrated with AR, augmented reality, and eventually virtual reality as well, that the existing big payments players that are dealing in fiat or using all of the traditional payment rails, even using Swift, whatever, they're going to miss this, right? They're going to miss this if they cannot integrate with crypto, and it's going to be a lot to miss. So it's great to see Stripe doing this, especially, I don't want to say I called it because it was like 5 days ago, okay? I'm on stage at Token 2049 in London. My first time going to London in over 600 days. Yeah. Thanks to the guys at Launchpool who got me there. Appreciate that. Shout out to Rich Simpson. And I was going on stage for this decade ahead of crypto, and I'm thinking, geez, there's one of my 3 parts of this that I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to talk about. And for some reason, Stripe and Square came into my head. And I started making this example. And what I talked about at the beginning when we were going through the AMA highlights was that there is part of me going into all of this whole experience that brings, what I'm bringing with me is the baggage of a career in traditional financial services, right?
Yep.
And seeing all this stuff and all these operating models, these value chains, that knowing how it all works in crypto now, I look at what happens in traditional financial services and I'm saying there's just so much of a long journey ahead for these traditional financial services players to digitalize their businesses.
Yep.
Okay. And I was trying to think of the other side of it, which was all of the crypto natives, which is just this example of Axie Infinity is just the one of many, many more to come. And all of these online ecosystems where money meets the metaverse, where the traditional financial services players are going to miss it. There's that side of it, which is just, like I said, going into hyperdrive, and that can just push society to the tipping point of more humans on Earth using crypto than not using crypto, all right? And sitting back and listening to this guy, Max Kordick from Lisk, who was sitting next to me, and him talking about how the kids are defining the path here. And it's those that, like your kids, Eoin, that are playing these games online and figuring this out. They're the ones that are setting the tone. I was trying to say, listen, you've got to also think about the institutionalized wealth that's out there, or all the institutional wealth that's out there, and that where the access to that wealth is controlled by the likes of Stripe and Square and Visa and MasterCard and all these other big players. What I said to the crowd was that Square have been on the front foot in crypto, right? They're probably moving the quickest of the traditional players. And I said, I can't wait for Stripe to move on this. 5 days later, what do? Right? I don't know the Collison brothers, although I did see one of them in 3FE in Dublin once, but same day I saw Des Bishop, and he didn't remember that either. So, but anyway, I for me, it's really that which one is going to drive us to the tipping point? Yep. Institutional wealth moving into digital assets, or is it going to be just this, hey, we got to 2 billion users on Facebook because, well, the kids started it, and then everyone else followed after that.
Yep.
But it was just user by user, individual by individual, business by business. They weren't doing things any other way. They just started using Facebook. And Facebook is probably a terrible example for this, but it's the digitalization of something that hadn't existed before. Or it did exist, but it was these completely offline networks of friends and relationships between people and businesses that then got all networked onto Facebook.
And we touched on it a bit recently when we were talking about some of the large traditional players and the fact that, they're missing out on a generation of customers now. And you're talking there about the kids leading the charge here, and it is because their expectations and the way that they transact even in their day, my son is 10 and he knows the ins and outs of obviously, loading up his Fortnite account with V-Bucks and then transacting them within the game, so his view of financial services will be very different by the time he's 18 or 16 when he's opening a proper account sort of thing.
Have you tried to tell him about financial services?
No, not yet.
No. But one of your daughters has a Revolut card, yeah?
Well, actually, he has one as well. Yeah, I pay my subscription. I'm one of their subscribers and on the recurring revenue.
Yes.
But yeah, for both of the kids to have it. Yeah, so
they just know they get money.
I mean, they have the Revolut card. They have the app. They can see it being topped up. They can do all their different bits on it, and that's what they'll grow up knowing. It'll be interesting. I think, like we're talking there about, some of the gaming companies and the metaverse and stuff, it'll be interesting, the idea of unlocking, I suppose, value or currency within an ecosystem. Because, when I gave a talk a couple of weeks ago to TU Dublin's incoming fintech course, intro to fintech, whatever, I usually do an hour or so every time. And the slide that I always throw up is, it's an old slide now because I don't have updated stats on it. It's about Starbucks having more money on deposit than most banks in the US because of the money held on the Starbucks cards. And you can draw a line between that and NFTs and tokenization and what we're talking about here in the sense of, well, that's money that just sits there that can't be used for any other purpose unless Starbucks then decide to, allow it to be translated into some other form.
They got to be doing something with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it serves a huge amount of value, I'm sure, to Starbucks and their balance sheet, having money just sitting there that's not being used.
It's like prepaid coffee is kind of what it is, right? So however Starbucks are accounting for it, I won't get into it, but I would love to know how they're actually using that from a corporate treasury perspective.
And also then, is that something, so it's like the idea of Tesco club card points. If there's a way then to unlock that to allow it to be used in multiple kind of formats or whatever, surely you're opening up much greater opportunities for some of those companies.
Well, I can use my Tesco club card points right now to get, pizzas at Milano.
Yeah.
Now that is closed network, very hard to get. You got to get these vouchers. You got to print something out. You got to you don't have to print it out. You got to have it on your phone, bring it into Milano, where you and I met that day, where our families met that day a few years ago in Dundrum.
Yep.
And, but yeah, that's what we're talking about here. Is being able to monetize these online experiences, these digital only experiences, and bring them back offline. But yeah, to kind of round that all out, not surprised that Stripe are doing this. It's great to see, and I will hopefully be able to reach out to someone within Stripe, I don't know, and bring them into this program somehow, because now
and
they're part of it.
Any listeners who can help us with that, please. That'd be
great. Yes, any listeners. But anyway.
Talking about Starbucks, and I suppose where I was going with that was the whole idea of embedded finance.
Yes.
Which kind of leads on nicely to two. I saw two interesting bits of information this week, which I suppose just caught my interest because of the whole embedded finance piece. And one of them was NerdWallet's IPO. And it was interesting because I follow John Street Capital on Twitter. An anonymous account does fantastic breakdowns of S1s. So this is... I suppose you can...
What's an S1? So everyone knows?
S1 is the, I suppose, prospectus document for listing on the stock exchange.
Yes. The pre-IPO filing that you do with the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States.
I have to admit, I do enjoy reading for interesting companies. There's so much valuable information in it in terms of market trends and market behavior and stuff for a particular type. So this is NerdWallet's mission is to provide clarity for all of life's financial decisions, and their vision is a world where everyone makes financial decisions with confidence, which I mean is typical corporate speak. 21 million monthly unique users.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, what are they doing in revenue? 228 million revenue in 2019, 245 in 20. They're already at 181 million in H1. So ultimately, what is it? I suppose it's like an aggregator or a comparison site. They started off with $800 in Excel spreadsheet, and now it's a personal finance site. looking to raise 5 billion in the IPO. They started as a credit card comparison site, so now they cover everything: mortgages, personal finance, investing,
Crypto, saw that.
crypto as well. Free reviews, content tools, and then affiliate fees if it drives conversion. I mean, what I found fascinating was obviously it's heavily focused in financial services, but it's a comparison site. So it's not often you'd see a comparison site list anywhere,
Yeah, but I mean, these are partnerships that they have with big players to distribute their services through bringing users onto NerdWallet to have a look and to make it very easy for them to figure out what's going to be the best solution for them.
I really looked into it because I was fascinated by it because it's content ultimately. That's what drives their users. They have 20 million monthly site visits. 86% of that comes through search, which is pretty much all organic. They've 100 plus people in their content team. They offer a lot of free tools. They've 25 different free finance calculators. So they pretty much own, if you type mortgage calculator anywhere in the US, NerdWallet is the first kind of solution that comes up. Same with refi, compound interest, retirement, interest rate calculator, personal loan calculator. Mortgage calculator alone gets about 3.5 million Google searches a month for them.
If you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
Yeah, it's incredible. So I just found it fascinating because obviously it's driving business to its customer base ultimately.
Yeah, 245 million revenue last year, projected 360 this year, just on affiliate advertising.
Yeah,
and pay per click, which is incredibly impressive. And the SEO, which is search engine optimization, to do this right is backbreaking.
Absolutely. But they consider themselves a one-stop destination for all things consumer and small to medium business financial kind of offerings under one brand.
So was the point that all of these kind of stats and insights just came from the S1?
Yeah, well, that was part of it, yeah. It's fascinating. But also, the fact is they're out there just driving business to their affiliates.
Who would buy them?
Who would buy them? That's an interesting. Who would buy them, actually?
Would there be other types of products that you could leverage all of this wonderful tech that NerdWallet built to start doing comparisons? Like, should I get the Apple iPhone 12 or 13, right? Yeah. Or should I get the new Samsung? What should I get my kids for tablets? Should you do that? There are other sites that already do that, like CNET do a bunch of, technology-focused ones. Or could you say, could they go across the value chain a bit more? Which is my whole experience of going to a U.S. investment manager's website and watching a video that the website told me to watch because I answered 3 questions a certain way. Yep. And then when I went to take the recommendation of the funds that they told me to buy because of my risk preference, they just listed the funds and they said, well, you can't buy them here. We don't have the regulatory licensing for you to buy them on this website. So go to this other website. And when you got to the other website, you got terribly lost because the names didn't transfer over.
Yeah, and that's it. Like they're talking about their TAM is 23 billion. It's US financial services digital advertising spend. But personalization is their thing. Personalization and the fact that I suppose 75% of their traffic comes from unpaid, or they're not paying to drive that traffic. Mm-hmm. So they've just become a trusted brand. So, I suppose how do they continue to grow? Well, given the more players year on year now in the financial services space, you're going to go to them and just sign up with them because they own their audience.
Yeah. And going into crypto, I'd say I'd love to see them get into DeFi because there's so many ways to take just your, fiat wealth now and bring that into crypto through stable coins and earn, 5 to 7% on that. Now, you got to do your homework and go down your rabbit hole to figure all that out before you do anything.
It's just fascinating. Obviously, we spend a lot of our time looking at the really technical and really advanced kind of technology and solutions, and yet ultimately you just have what is a really big content funnel which draws in 20 million people a month and just diverts them out depending on a certain criteria to the people providing the solutions ultimately. In the scheme of things, it's very straightforward business. Just fascinating the numbers behind it.
Absolutely. No, I thank you for pointing that one out. I didn't see that one, and we got me really thinking about the business model and how they're making money. And I did actually had to Google how did NerdWallet make money.
Yeah. So again, like I said, it kind of had me thinking about the fringes of financial services, and where there's big markets clearly in this scenario, big markets, big opportunities based on the spend and the continued kind of growth in spend and financial services providers.
And I'm trying to think of the embedded finance link here. And embedded finance, according to our friend Sophie Guibault, is enabling non-financial services companies to provide financial services by giving them the technology to embed finance into their platforms, right? And so, best example, Shopify. And Shopify are obviously not a financial services company. So what could you do with NerdWallet, right? Is there an element of embedded finance there where, here you go, you could open up an embedded finance page on NerdWallet that's looking out across all of the different options for a non-financial services company to integrate financial services. Those can all be rated from a B2B perspective. Most of what you see on NerdWallet is rated from a consumer perspective, but having businesses rate them and say who are the best providers of things like banking as a service or embedded finance, which are two different things, and then be able to just easily integrate them through NerdWallet into your tools, because it should be that easy, right? There was another story that came up on that you pointed out from Productfy, which is being referred to as the Shopify of embedded finance. Tell us what happened there.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting. So Productfy, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah.
Yep.
Raised 16 million to build a DeFi for traditional finance, and this was on TechCrunch. So Productfy Inc., banking as a service platform that aims to build DeFi for traditional finance. So Series A round, it has 0.72 ventures, 500 startups, and Yodlee are also participating. They were existing investors, so it's raised a total of 19 million now across its first two rounds. Yeah, they're trying to build from the ground up for traditional banks, who can't decentralize. So we're familiar with the banking as a service solution, but obviously it broaches into your area of expertise now far more than mine on the DeFi side, and building DeFi solutions and trying to, as they referred to here, they want to be seen as the Shopify for embedded finance. The developers can configure in hours, integrate in days, and go from idea to full stack deployment in as little as 3 weeks.
Yeah, I really like that. And one thing that stood out, you mentioned 0.72 ventures. They're everywhere these days. Yeah. They are everywhere. That is Stephen Allen Cohn, which is the 0.72 is a family office that spun out of SAC Capital. And this goal of building decentralized finance, if I'm to kind of read into that a little, what they're saying is that if you're enabling anybody to just offer financial services and that you don't need intermediaries in order to get that all set up, well, you still have intermediaries that you're still depending on because you're still in the traditional financial system with all those rails. So this is more distributed finance, I think would probably be a better word, in that you are taking these things such as, they say, let anyone do fintech, right? Money movement, payments, whatever, deposit accounts, cards, and they've built these toolkits so all of those types of services can just be embedded into other applications, whether that be a NerdWallet like we were talking about, or that is just a small business website, or a Tesco loyalty card program. Probably Tesco is probably a bad idea. What is probably a good example of a loyalty card that I do actually use? I can't think of one. Is there a loyalty card program you actually use? Sorry. I will make this relevant to Ireland. So instead of a Tesco card program, it's Dunn's. So Dunn's is a big, huge retailer here in Ireland, mostly known for its food rather than its clothing, everything else that you could get there. That being said, they put a lot of money recently into the whole digital side of things. So Productfy could come along and they could offer Dunn's the ability to embed things such as
credit card,
payment services, credit cards, debit card, whatever, into the whole Dunn's experience, right? And like Starbucks, where you have people ending up leaving a whole bunch of money on the Starbucks card, and who knows what Starbucks are doing with that from a corporate treasury perspective. Actually, I don't think you could do that on this side of the pond, because if Dunn's were doing that, they would need to either do that through a banking partner, and the banking partner would be reinvesting all of that, or placing it overnight, or doing something with it. If they were an e-money provider, you got to hold 100% reserve. But still, being able to offer financial services, do something with the interchange, there's a little bit of that over here on this side of the pond. All of that could be really interesting for a big retailer, right? So I think that's where Productfy can, come into the European market, maybe the Irish market, and maybe they'll get in touch. We'll see.
Yeah, no, look, just fascinating. Obviously, we've touched on embedded finance a lot, and we've talked about it loads in terms of what Facebook are doing and WhatsApp Pay, and obviously what Stripe can do for multiple different sectors. So it's just another interesting one. The DeFi, it would be interesting to see, can someone build DeFi solutions to, I suppose, reverse integrate it into banks and traditional financial services players?
I think so. Give shout out to the guys at D-Factor here in Dublin who are working on bringing real world assets into DeFi.
You have to think that there's a massive opportunity for that, because the reality is, as much as we talk about it, and I really must get like some good source material from you, there's still so much I don't understand the broader concept and the ins and outs of DeFi. Yet, being able to come to your bank and say, look, here's my DeFi solution, ready to integrate into you, etc.
Absolutely. No, I hear you. And there's a whiteboard behind me there. One, if I tried to explain it there, no one would be able to see this because this is audio only. Yeah. Two, my daughter took the whiteboard and she made her whole Halloween treat checklist on that for the whole family. So I can't erase that right now. But let's have a deeper chat around that, because it's actually quite simple when you start talking about the concept of liquidity pools and how that all interacts with those that are staking assets.
Yep.
So, but yeah, there's massive opportunity there. I just don't see this slowing down, which is fantastic. Yeah. I had one other thing, just quick shout out to Jill Richmond from Jewel. She was on episode 103, You Know the Rules.
Yep.
And she's the chief revenue officer at Jewel. Good story coming out. The proposed bank Jewel wants to become a global stablecoin issuer with Bermuda's okay. So they just finally got their application submitted in June, I think, in Bermuda for their banking license. So hopefully they can move ahead there. It'd be great to see them get their product live and get to market.
Cool.
Anything else from you?
No, I had downloaded, Plaid had a really interesting report, a survey that they did around fintech's mass adoption moment. So I haven't actually gotten to go too deep on it, other than to say that they've seen a massive increase in US consumers using what they've defined as fintech. Now, it doesn't show how it clarifies fintech, and as opposed to just your bank's mobile app. But talking about mass adoption, and especially in the US, how that's been driven by changes in open banking and how there's much more to come from it. So I must have a look at that in a bit more detail. I'll probably look to tweet out some stats, but yeah, more than half Americans are saying that finance has become a dinner table topic. 54%. There you go. It's probably all
Jesus.
crypto.
Well, I was going to say
Wall Street bets.
Well, I'd say even if it is crypto, anyone that I'm having dinner with, besides my wife, because she's now figured out crypto, and I start talking about crypto, I don't even go there. I do. It's no fun. But that room is changing, like we've been talking about, and there is a long arc to this tipping point, but the tipping point is coming, and
seems like it's getting closer and closer.
It's technology that 90% of the world don't have their heads around yet. Shout out to Brian Elders, who was at Token 49 with me. He was on an episode with us with Ernest Cantillon from Dramex a little while back. He had stepped outside of the conference to do a phone call, and after the phone call, he looked back across the street to the hotel that everyone was in for Token 49, and he said to himself, there's a few hundred people in there who think they're changing the world, and they're probably right. But there are thousands of people walking by this building every day that don't have a clue that any of this is going on.
Yeah.
And which is perfectly fine. And, it will continue to grow, and the space will flourish.
Yep.
So, should we leave it there tonight, mi hermano?
Yep.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much. We will just finally leave it there for this evening, yeah? Cool. Thanks, buddy.
Take it easy.
That does it for this week, folks, and you can learn more about the stories we covered in the show notes on our website, moneyneversleeps.ie. So check us out online and subscribe to our Money Never Sleeps newsletter as well. If you like what you heard, we would sincerely appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or whatever platform you're listening on, as it helps others to find the show. And remember, Money Never Sleeps is spelled as all one word. Also, thanks to Conan Brophy from Create Sound for mixing and editing this episode. Conan is an excellent media man to get in touch with when you're thinking about launching your own podcast. As for me, I'm an early-stage startup advisor and investor and the managing director of the Launchpool Web3 Techstars Accelerator here in Dublin. As always, I help fintech and digital asset startups get their product to market, build traction with customers, and raise funding. If you'd like to get in touch, drop us a line on info@moneyneversleeps.ie. Finally, till next time, thanks for listening. See ya!
Money never sleeps, pal.